low. Keep it low. Hey, hey. What's up, y'all? It's your girl Chanel from Complex Simplicity. I hope that you had an amazing weekend, a happy Sunday. Compared to Friday, the weather has been very nice in the East Coast area. And, Sundays is normally a day that I do a vlog. I try to take maybe a day or two during the weekend off. And so I feel like I've been constantly reminded, whether it's on social media or reality TV or just what I see when I'm out and about out here. A lot of us women are so willing to just, how do I say, get plastic surgery to the point where our bodies no longer look normal. Now, before I was used to seeing this like on social media or like when I'm watching reality shows like the Love and Hip Hop franchise or even the Housewives franchise or even the Kardashians, you know what I'm saying? Where you see all of this altering of body parts, whether it's the boobs or it's the butt, But even now, in my normal, regular, degular, schmegular, as Cardi B would say, in my regular life, I'm seeing women who looking like cartoon characters out here, right? And so, as you know, my goal is never to put us down as women or as a people. But what my message is today is just for us to try to dig deeper from within, to really figure out why we're willing to go through such extreme lengths to live up to societal standards that are not even realistic. I feel like plastic surgery is everyone's choice out here, right? So I'm not going to judge someone's choice to get plastic surgery. Is it something that's my judge? No. But I'm not going to judge someone else who feels like they may want to nip and tuck something, right? If you got the money, if you did your research, if you're going to reputable plastic surgeons, have at it, right? But what I will say is, most importantly, the work has to be done from within, right? Because even when we go under the knife, there's a chance that we can still gain weight, right? So if I'm going in to get lipo, everybody who really knows me knows my stomach area has always been like a problem area for me, right? Stomach area and like my little chichos is going down because, the spin I'm doing, this extreme level of cycle class called sprint that I'm doing is real, right? So it's going down, thankfully, but it takes time. And so if I'm being honest, when I look at myself in the mirror, when I am in my birthday suit, right, when I'm naked, of course I see areas that are problematic that I would love to change, right? But probably because I'm afraid of surgery, I'm afraid of being cut out here, that's probably what deters me. And I don't got that kind of money to be spending 20 grand on plastic surgery, right? That's what deters me. My whole thing is I'll just try to work out and eat better as best as I can, But then there's another side of me that realizes that it just may never be in the cards for me to have flat abs. It may never be in the cards for me to have the body in my mind that I would like, It's about working hard to meet certain personal fitness goals that I have that I may have for myself, but at the same time acknowledging that realistically, with the genes that I have, it may never be in the cards for me to look a certain way, and that at some point one has to be satisfied and content and love how they look, who they are, right? And so, even though I'm not judging anyone who chooses to go the plastic surgery route, as I was saying, I think it's important for us to look from within to get to the root of what is causing this insecurity or this self-hate or whatever may have you. And it doesn't help. And I always think of the younger generations, the millennials, these young girls out here, and how they're constantly comparing themselves to what they see on TV. See, when I was growing up, I was born in '83. So when I was growing up, it was about being model thin out here, but there was no reality TV. Things weren't saturated the way they are on the internet and on television and Netflix and everything else, right? Fire Sticks, it wasn't as saturated out here. So I grew up having normal insecurities. Like I said, I was the very tall girl, and when I was younger, and my weight would be up and down at times. But for the most part, I didn't have a lot of probably the challenges that the youth and the millennials of today face. And so it's much harder for them now. I feel for the young girls and just what society is trying to poison our minds to believe is beautiful out here. It's like it's not even obtainable. And there can get to a point when one goes for plastic surgery that there's a point of no return at times. Like, it can be where you do a little too much nipping, a little too much tucking, a little too much adding fat in your butt, right? Where you look crazy, if I'm being honest. Like, let's stop going so over and beyond. Like, what happens when, because this always happens in life, when it goes back in style to have more of a natural looking body, or to have a natural body, or where having this huge behind is now considered to be ugh. What happens to all the people who have augmented their body drastically? Because you really can't reverse these things. It brings me to K. Michelle. I know at one point when she first was doing Love and Hip Hop and her career took off and she started to acquire some fame out here, she was blowing up her butt to the point where she was like, I remember when she was on the Breakfast Club, she said, so what if I wanted to be where you can see my butt from the front? Meaning that her behind was so big that between the way her hips and everything were shaped, you could see it from the front. Then she was singing a different song maybe a year or two after that interview, and she was back on the Breakfast Club. And this is when I think she was, she might have signed some type of a sponsorship contract or whatever with Jack Daniels. The liquor brand Jack Daniels, I believe is whiskey, bourbon, one of them. And so she said that in these boardroom meetings, she was starting to find, now that she's putting on the businesswoman hat, not just this reality star chick, she's putting on the businesswoman hat, and she's finding that executives, business people, partners were not taking her seriously. They were kind of looking at her like a sexual play toy in the corner, but not really taking probably what she had to offer, what her perspective was regarding the product and the brand or whatever she was trying to build with them seriously. And then at that point, she went, and I think she said she had some of her butt lipoed and tried to have some of it pushed down into her thighs, right? And so, yes, it got slightly smaller, but let's keep it real. There's no turning back from fat transfers where you take fat from your, like if you're me, you take fat from your belly and your chichos and you put it in your butt. What ends up happening is your body naturally will now start to formulate fat in the area that you transferred other fat from your body to. And so at that point, they may be able to lipo you. She even lost a lot of weight, but not much is going to really change because of the procedure that was done, right? And what happens, because a lot of these procedures may not be reversible. And so now, when you no longer want to look like that, you want to be taken seriously in the business meetings, in the boardrooms. You want to have an easier time finding fashion because, you have this small waist, but your hips and your butt are so big, and then you have these thin legs. Where are you going to find jeans? How are you going to find designer clothing that you would like to wear, right? Like, think about these things. What happens 20 years from now when you're older, right? You're still going to be towing behind you this big old behind, or these huge boobs, you know what I'm saying? Or these huge lips. Like, all these procedures out here, I'm just like, let us start trying to love ourselves. Get to the root of the problem here. You know what I'm saying? I feel like once you've addressed whatever your insecurity is with your physical appearance or with yourself in general, and then you're like, okay, I've kind of addressed this. I've turned a corner with how I feel about myself. And if you still want plastic surgery, okay. But why are we just jumping automatically to skipping over the important part, which is the inside, how you feel about yourself, your self-worth, the sense of who you are, loving who you are, liking how you look, loving how you look. We're skipping over that. and immediately jumping to like trying to physically fix whatever insecurities we have, but then we never deal with the inside. Like, how does that work? Because at the end of the day, you'll keep nipping and tucking because nothing will ever be enough, right? Because you're just trying to change what's on the outer layers of you, but you're not trying to work at the core issue. So my encouragement is just for us, we all have insecurities about our bodies and how we look. It's normal, it's par for the course, right? I think some of us have more healthier realms of it, and there are others of us that have very unhealthy realms of it. And my encouragement to us all is just to deal with whatever the core issue is, right? So for me, because I'm all about putting myself out there, right? Yes, I have my little insecurities still about my belly and my chichos, and I work out. I've been working out consistently for over 3 years now. And it's been a journey, you know what I'm saying? And my body's not quite where I would 100% want it to be, but I'm content with, for the most part, you know, how I'm like, okay, we've made a lot of progress in these past few years, you know, but at the end of the day, I have to remind myself sometimes, because I feel like when I'm about to be on my menstrual cycle, that's kind of when I start feeling like I'm like OD fat, or like, oh, nothing looks good, or I'm just not satisfied, right? I think maybe it's part of the hormonal process. Maybe it's just the bloating. I don't know, right? But I try to remind myself, Chanel, fall back, quit it. You know what I'm saying? You're working out, you're trying your best to eat well, or balanced at least. Like, it is what it is. You're beautiful, you're sexy. That ain't stopping you from getting a man to want to get on one knee to marry you, a man to fall in love with you. I love who I am. Like, fall back. You know, I have to coach myself and talk to myself like anyone else at times, but I like to remind myself when I'm feeling my most unattractive or when I'm feeling my most thickest, right? I like to coach myself and remind myself that, okay, Chanel, you're extra hormonal right now. What you're looking at and seeing in the mirror may be a bit skewed, maybe wherever you are emotionally. You know, you're working out, continue to work out, you know, and if you feel like you're not getting progress at the rate you would like, go harder in the gym. Maybe try to balance your eating even more or even better, you know, and relax. You know, don't get to the point where you beat yourself up, where you start to doubt your beauty. Like, I'm beautiful, I'm sexy. Like, no, you're good. You know what I'm saying? Now, if I was complaining and not doing anything about it, different story. But I actually do hit the gym and work out consistently. So it's like, Chanel, fall back, stop being ridiculous, and get this thing together. That's just how, you know, the conversations I have with me, right? You know, but just sometimes we got to reel ourselves in, ladies, and be like, listen, you're bugging out. Because there's times where when I may take a photo of myself for the fashion section, which I actually do have. I haven't posted a picture in a long time, but I got something for you today, so check it out. And I'm like, oh, I was bugging out. Why am I thinking I'm all fluffy? And I actually look pretty damn good, if I say so myself, right? And I think a lot of it also is, you know, I'm doing so much cycling that my body is changing. I'm developing more muscle, so my legs are even more muscular, looking thicker. And so it's not that I'm gaining fat, I'm actually gaining a lot more muscle, and my body's starting to change a little bit. And so if I feel like I'm getting too muscular, Chanel, don't use as much resistance when you're in cycle class, you know what I'm saying? But don't beat yourself up. Like, so please